Hi there, welcome to Wee Gems, and we're going to look today at failure. So, failure, it's not a particularly nice word. I remember many years ago, I certainly felt so much like a failure. It was unbelievable. In fact, it was the biggest disappointment in my life right up to that moment. And probably, actually, to this day, it still is what I seen as the biggest disappointment in my life. Now I look at it as the biggest gift in my life. So, what was that? Well, failure is one of those words that we're set up to do. We're set up for failure because we hear things from past and from all around, maybe from our parents, maybe from our teachers, maybe from friends or who we think are friends. But in actual fact, I remember many years ago reading a book by Anthony Robbins called The Power Within. And he mentioned that it's not failure at all. It's actually a result. It's just a result. So here I was many, many years ago. My life was set around being the best that I could be as far as my sports were concerned. I absolutely lived and breathed, loves my sport, was found in the gym whenever I wasn't in classes doing other things. Okay. My whole life was going to be a PE teacher, a physical education teacher was all that I was interested in doing. So my whole life was aimed towards that. I played badminton, netball, I swam, I done some athletics. I would put my hand to anything. I can't say I was brilliant at athletics. I done okay, got a few medals, but I really excelled when it came to netball, badminton, and swimming. And I absolutely loved them. And I spent every hour that I could possibly spend in that gym. And I was learning to coach, and I had coaching certificates. So that was my aim in life, was to be a PE teacher. And I even got the opportunity, with the supervision of my teacher, to take classes. And that was how much it meant to me in my life. And I was only in my mid-teens, and I had applied to go to Dunfermline College of Physical Education, DUMF. And yes, it was in Scotland, for those who can't detect that accent. And it was the only Scottish, and it was divided into male and female at that time, female physical education teaching facility. So that was the only place that I could go to in Scotland to become a PE teacher. And I applied, and I had, everything behind me, how much I had done this and this and this and that. So for me, it was just a no-brainer. They would obviously want me. And when I got the word in to say that I had been rejected, then I had completely failed in what my life's mission was going to be. And I can't tell you how awful reading that letter was. And I was lost, because everything up until then in my life, pretty much if I went for it, I got it. But this is the first no, big no that I had. Certainly I had no from mum and dad on many occasions, but this was a no. And it was based around everything I had ever wanted in life. And I crumbled, and I didn't actually want to go back in to the school. And it was right at the time of all the exams happening. And I just thought, oh, what's the point? What's the point in me going ahead and even sitting those exams? And to be honest, I did go in and sit some of those that year. I went in and sat some of those, and I couldn't give a. I really couldn't. And so much so that I actually didn't even try too much. So I actually gave up. I really gave up. And the worst part for me was that I had to go in, and I had a teacher who was such an amazing mentor. And for me, all the teachers in the PE department were really supportive of me, were great, but there was this one teacher, Miss Hennigan, and she was the one I was dreading going in and seeing. So I went in and I plucked up. This took days and days before I could do it, but I went in and up to the pool, and she was taking a class at the end of the pool, and I sat down. And as I sat there, I just sat with my head in shame, really. And I was so full of shame of letting her and all the department down, because I had failed to get in to Dunf. And she saw me at the far end of the pool. She saw me, and she was finishing the class off, and she dismissed the class, got them all, dismissed the class out of the pool. And I was sitting on a wee bench, something like this, and looked up every so often. And as I looked down, she just went to me. And I thought, how do I tell her? And I'd spent days trying to work out, how do I tell her I'd failed to get into Dunf? And as I slowly walked down the pool, with my head hung in shame, my heart was beating out my chest, because I was like, oh my God, what did I do and what did I say? And I had been really upset anyway, but this was making it even worse. And I got down to her, I was trying to hold back the tears. And I wasn't a particularly tearful person, but I was holding them back. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, I'm sorry. And she said, no, I'm so sorry that you never got in, Mags, or Margaret Mary as I was known in those days. And I looked at her, and I thought, inside I was going, how does she know? Not realising that they obviously know when people get, and they had that information. I was like, how does she know? And she said, honestly, I can't believe it. But with having 250 applicants for 25 places, and that, to be honest, that went past me, because it didn't matter what the reason was. I had failed to get into the establishment that I needed to get into to get me to where I wanted to be. And she reached her arms out and gave me a massive hug. And I was hugging and I was crying, because this was compassion. This was kindness that I was feeling. And actually, I was expecting rage. I was expecting her to be really angry with me because I hadn't got in, because that's where my ego was. How could I not have got into this? But this was compassion. This was love that was being felt. And I came away from there and felt better. So that failure should have made my whole life fail completely. And it did in part because actually I didn't do well in my exams and failed quite a few exams that year. But to be honest, they didn't matter to me. Because the only one thing was getting into Dunf, and if I wasn't going to get there, what's the point of even trying in the exams? It taught me a lot. It taught me that actually giving up on something, sometimes it isn't that difficult to do and isn't that bad. Because if I had kept going, I'd be a PE teacher. In fact, I'd be coming up probably to retire as a PE teacher by now, but I'd be a PE teacher. And that wasn't where I was meant to be. I just didn't realise that. In actual fact, it led me into all sorts of areas in leadership. And that's what being a PE teacher is about, is leading a group of kids. And I just ended up leading groups of adults and doing amazing things in my life that I never realised was coming my way, including being on here talking to you, being able to put over to you some of the experiences I've had and share them, because we're all in this together. So LeadingME was actually all about me understanding what it wasn't failure. As I mentioned, when I read Tony Robbins' book and I saw in it that it was just a result. It was a result I didn't want or didn't need or I wanted to reject. But it was just a result. If I actually just observed it as a result and looked at the fact that it was 250 applicants for 25 places, and not only that, but those 25 places, they already had their exams under the belt. They weren't taking unconditionals, it was only conditionals. And conditional meant you already had what they needed. So those people who were going to be sitting their exams had no chance of getting in anyway. And sometimes that's exactly how it's meant to be for you. So failure, for me, in this instance, and to be honest, I don't see life as failure or things that I do anymore as failures. I just see them as results. And it might not have been the result I was looking for, but that's really interesting. Why has that happened? Because there must be something else. Because I look at my life now, there must be something. If I'd known what I know now, in those days, I would have looked and thought, wow, what's coming? It's going to be even bigger and better. And that's how I see results now. That's how I see it, because they're the biggest gifts. The things that come out of left field, the things that, swerving in, they come and poof, what the hell did happen there? If we just stop in that instance and actually see it as, this is divine timing. It's actually nothing to do with the humanness of me and what I think I want. This is what is the bigger picture for me, for you, for everyone. There is always something amazing in some of the things we perceive as being really bad. And at times, especially at times when there's massive change, and change happens constantly, but at the moment there's lots and lots of change. And when you were looking at those change, it's not looking at how bad that is and let's complain about it or let's wallow in it or let's, shout about it. Or, yeah, by all means, look at, okay, what can I do to help manifest the change that we're looking for? Okay, so it's never failure. It's just a result. And I can look at that result and I can take it and go, okay, so what can I do better about this result? So that's my take on failure and the fact that I don't see anything as failure anymore. If we only look at it as there is something bigger, there is something better for us and for others in what we're going through at any given time, then that will make a massive difference. So, as I say every time, stay true, stay you, keep bringing out your brilliance, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.